Welcome, Heistomaniacs, to Center Heist Productions. How you doing today? We're going to discuss last night's game with the Coyotes coming into Montreal. A recap of it, very brief one, because I also want to discuss the up-and-coming draft and the trade deadline. So I'm going to condense this, what happened last night. So please, first hit the likes and subscribes. Muchly appreciated. Please don't leave without doing that. Trying to grow the channel, and yes, bear with me. I've been down with, I don't know if I got pneumonia, but I've had this cold flu thing for 6 weeks, so bear with me. So, Heistomaniacs, we're going to talk about things that Andrew says so on. All right, and that's the bottom dollar. All right, let's get to the game. And let's talk about what transpired. A battle of, as we said, to me, draft ranking, where teams are going to position. I could tell right from the beginning of this game, when they put Ingram in the net, they weren't as serious about winning this game. The Coyotes, that is, in my books, without them being honest and straightforward about it. I think this was their message of, because Velamaco is a much better goaltender. And he plays well against the Habs as well. Actually, a goaltender I would love to have with the Habs right now. Personally, I think he's just needs. If he was with a better team, he would be pretty much dynamite. Might be one of the upper echelon goaltenders. Anyhow, let's discuss this game briefly in the stats. Good battle of the two teams that are kind of got the same makeup. They're really kind of in the same position in their builds of their clubs. So anyway, game starts 1-0 Montreal. It starts with first period with a goal. Second period, one apiece. Third period, 2-1 for the Habs, with that one of them being an empty netter. Okay, this was a beautiful Sam Montembeault. I mean, this was crazy, the amount of shots. You looked at the end of each period, and we were so outshot, it was unbelievable. Monty was definitely on his game, though. That was a big help. He came through in some right times for us. That probably helped us garnish the win. However, Ingram, like I said, I think we didn't have as many shots, but we had high danger shots, and we capitalized on them. That was the difference in this game. Also, Slab had a strong game. The first line played very well. Slab had a strong game except for his penalties and too high sticking. So, only thing I didn't like is that the coaching staff made him. You could see that he got pulled out of a few shifts there after he came out of the box on his second penalty. And I don't like the different strokes attitude that Montreal has. That's the one. I love Martin St. Louis, but that's my beef with him. Is different strokes for different folks. He's got two or three veterans there that have that same type of thing that happens at crucial times when they may have to take stupid penalties, and he doesn't treat them the same way as he treats the rookies. So I got a big beef with that. I don't like any mindset. I never have in any part of anything in life. I do not like different strokes for different folks mentality. Sorry, that's where I say, Martin, you got to smarten up. That's why you need a whole new coaching staff behind you, and don't, these guys who keep saying that anyway, let's get to the game. I'll remember his name. Robitaille is doing this fantastic job with the defense. Give me a break. Yes, we got an offensive good aspects there. Our defensive game, it's got some big problems with it. So to me, that whole group of assistant coaches, when their contracts are up, and I believe it's this summer, replace them. This is the time to bring in guys that are more qualified and, that can do a better job with the system, because I see a lot of running around in our own end. And this is even coming with our veterans back there, chasing guys, and they can't stay in their own damn zone. I don't know what's wrong with them, and it's got to be the coaching of your defense there. We got to get on guys that understand zone coverage. I mean, I'm sorry. I like man-to-man, but you also got to understand and be able to play both systems. All right, so Again, we come up with the 4-2 victory, one being really, to me, it was closer than that. 3-2, I don't really count empty netters, even though they do count. Okay, 3 stars, Montembeault, that's obvious. 36 saves, brought his average up to 9.47. Nice to see in this game. Jordan Harris had a phenomenal game, and this is why I say he doesn't get the credit he deserves. 1 goal, 1 assist, +2. He had 17 minutes and 34 seconds on the ice. And then Macarelli for Arizona was the 3rd star with an assist. So, scoring summary, very brief. 752. Yoel Armia has been, and here's another guy. I'm not a fan of Yoel Armia. This is one of the guys I'd like to see eventually traded. However, it's pretty sad when this is one of your better players since he's come back from Laval. It just shows you. It shows you how bad Anderson and Gallagher are. And that's my main examples. And even Pizzetta has just not been up to snuff. But I'll tell you what, I'd take Pizzetta in the lineup over Anderson any day of the week. Any day of the week for the effort. And that's where I don't like this different strokes because it's coming up in the rosters lineups. It shows very clearly these guys are not penalized for their lack of effort, their mistakes, but the rookies are held accountable. Slab got pulled back on his ice time last night after his 2 high sticks, and he had a good solid game. Other than that, he's going to have to work on. I think it's because he uses that one hand on the stick too much and flings his stick around a little too loosely. That's the next thing. He's young. He's working on thing by thing. So I think with that, a little more control of the stick. But to penalize them, and you do the same thing with the young defensemen, like Arbor Jacki seems to be the other guy. I find that's a bunch of hogwash, and that's where Marty's got a smart, and that's where he needs some support with guys who are experienced to work, so they don't show this different strokes for different folks attitude. I'm sorry. I'm a little concerned that we are in a mode where we're trying to build a freewheeling team that's got no defensive responsibility whatsoever. That's what concerns me, and it looks to be like we've been drafting the American program. Not gung-ho on that either. You can't just go one direction. So anyway, Yoel Armia got the first goal. Beautiful goal. Nice setup by Newhook, assisted by Waugh, who got that started, and then we'll talk about that after as well. Second period, Jordan Harris gets a beautiful goal as he blocks that shot as he faced that gentleman directly on. Carries the puck up the ice, going down the ice with Josh Anderson on a 2-on-1 and Galley following. And he did the right thing, knowing that Josh Anderson misses the broadside of a barn, wide open cage all the time. He took the shot, and he was smart. He's an intelligent hockey player and doesn't get the credit for it. And it was unassisted. Great job. And he had a beautiful game set up, one at the end as well, with Pearson's goal. Beautiful feed. And then 7:42, Kerfoot scores. Of course, missed assignments by Matheson and Gooley. Missed assignments there, sorry. That was kind of not a great thing. And, there needs to be a lot more tightening up to the defense. And then at third period, Tanner Pearson gets a beautiful goal. Another guy who works hard. Ben had some injury problems, like Harris, but doesn't get the credit he's due. And nice to see him be rewarded with that goal. And it was the same. It was nice to see scoring come from guys who tend to be sitting on the outside and don't get the credit they deserve at times. So a lot of support coming from the outside scoring from that first line. Nice to see. It's good support. Then at 14:23, Butchestead scores, assisted by Megarelli and Kesarelli. And then, of course, Nick Suzuki at 19:57, assisted by Yoel Armia and Evans on an empty netter. Nice to see. Final shots. This was outrageous, 38-21. And thank God Monty was on his game, because we were very sloppy in our own end. A lot of odd man breaks on both sides last night. So you could definitely tell these teams are in the same area. Same issues. I think we have a more promising defense in the future than they do. I think although they have a good balance up front, a little better balance up front than we have. 16 hits to 22 for the Habs. Faceoffs 27-20 for the Habs. Great penalty kill last night, but that to me was only due to you were facing a team that has been overpassing quite a bit. You could see it in their 5-on-5 play. They overpass it just a little too much. So it was kind of a problem we had early on in the year on their power play, overpassing it, and I think that's why their power play is so dreaded. They overpass it too much and not take enough shots. So 0 for 3 for them. We didn't have a power play last night, and no penalties for them, and penalty minutes 6 minutes for us, and Slav contained most of those other than Anderson. Takeaways 5-1 for the Habs, and that's probably a part of the difference. And we do well when we block shots, and 24 block shots. We've seen a lot of it from Kovacevic. We've seen a lot of it from Goulet and Savard. So seeing that's nice to see, and even the odd ones from Jackeye. Nice to see that, and good to see that you got to win that department in the games that wins games. So first period penalties, Yaroslav Vukoski, and like I said, great game, and boy did he rock Buddy when Buddy came in to take him out when they were coming back into Montreal's end, and Buddy was really thinking he was going to put Slab on his butt and rock him, and Slab turned his back into him, and boy did Buddy, and that's a big boy that came up on him, and he just went down like a ton of bricks, showing the solidness. And I think Slab is really figuring out how strong he is. And because another guy took a run at him earlier on, and same thing. He went down when he took the run at Slab, and Slav's strength is starting to really show. And I think he's starting to realize it. So second period, Slab gets another penalty at 11:36 second period. 2 minutes for high sticking again, and I think it's this one hand on the stick thing. I think he lets his stick fling around a little too much, no control of it, if you understand what I mean. But that's to be expected. We've seen him come along, and issue by issue that he has to work on, he works on and improves, and that'll be another one of these things to address. Then the third period, 10:49, Josh Anderson, 2 minutes for tripping. And that's the way the game ended. Great game by Monty. Great team effort. Really like Waugh. I think he's, for me, I know I would have liked to have seen him finish his year in Laval, but I got to tell you, this just shows me how bad this forward group is in Montreal. You might as well leave Waugh there because he fills in better than a lot of their players. Now, he will probably, right now, he shows the potential and probably can stay on that second line. I do think when the dust settles and when our talent catches up once, and I don't think we have enough of it down in our system yet, I think it's going to really depend on this year's draft. And that's going to be down the road when we see the rewards gains out of it. But Waugh, to me, he's got the potential to be a second liner in the future, although we know he'll be a third liner for sure. He's smart. I like what he's bringing to the team. He makes intelligent plays. I don't see his foot speed being a problem that he was dinged on a lot. I think his intelligence makes up for it so much. Very intelligent player. He's a Hab to me in the future in this team somewhere. It's just a matter of will he be a third liner or a second liner because he's got so much potential. He's one of those guys. I wish he was. At least he's at the average size. I think he's at close to 6 foot around there, and that might be enough. But I'd like to see a little bigger for the top six. But anyway, he's got the smarts for it and can do it in the time being. But I do think he'll be will he be a second liner or a third liner? That I can't answer. Right now, he can be a second liner at this point because the Habs are that pathetic. He's definitely a second liner at this point. By far, way better than Gallagher and Anderson. They shouldn't even be on the roster as far as I'm concerned. Like they should be in Laval or let them go. One or the other. That's my opinion. Anderson gets rewarded for his horrific play this season. I don't get it. Galley's never approached for his pathetic mistakes penalty-wise, and he's terrible defensively, although played a little better tonight. Anderson had a better game tonight, too. Very strong game. They all played fairly strong, but to me, Waugh stands out. The first line played very well tonight. They upped their ante a bit. were good in the defensive zone here and there. Although they had some, I know they were on the ice for a couple, and that's your defensive pairing, putting that into place. That's where I find Gooley and Matheson have a lot of similarities, but it's also, I think Gooley plays a lot better when he's on the left side. So I think he's doing well for someone being put on the right side, but when he can go back to his own side, I think it's going to be much better for him. There's a lot to be done with what's going on in the back end, and big decisions have to be made. I think bottom dollar, though, anybody that tells me that when the contracts are coming up this summer for all three assistant coaches, this is the time to make your interjection. There's not a guy back there that's proven that he is capable to me of insulating Marty. And I think Marty is doing well, and Marty is a breath of fresh air. I love Marty. I do think he has some areas that I don't like, and that's the different strokes for different folks thing. I think he's got to hold his veterans accountable. Everybody should be, you show an equal accountability, and then your players respect you much more because then they know it's a fair process, and they know this is what is expected of you, and here's where the accountability shows. I mean, because you could see last night, Slab made those two penalty mistakes, and they took some ice time from him. There was a few shifts that he did not see the ice after that he came back in the second period. If you were watching close, I seen it because I seen Wall put in his place a couple times there, and it is what it is. But I don't agree with it because there's the amount of mistakes that Anderson and Galley make in most of the games and are never held accountable. Give me a break. Give me a break. It's pathetic. And I despise anything in life that it's not the equal accountability. You got to stop showing any favoritism within a system. It doesn't work long term. You might get away with it now, but as the years go, you get in here, people are going to get tired of it, and you can lose your room. So be careful. And that's why I say this summer is the perfect opportunity for the Habs to repair. Don't give me the crap that these assistant coaches are. I know we don't have the talent. I get that. Offensively, we definitely don't. And our defense. What is the issue? That's why I say don't tell me Robitaille. He's done a great job at. But this is also freewheel in hockey. Our defense is like third place in scoring in the league, and that's great and dandy. But defensive play is horrific. We are bad defensively, like in defensive play. And it's not just our defensemen. This is where another coach comes in, whoever's responsible for it. I don't know if that's Latowski or Marty. But 5-on-5 play when those guys come back. I mean, tonight was a good game only because you played a team at your level that's in the same point of their rebuild. So it was an even battle. But look at the mistakes the Habs made against them. Like I said, they had a huge Velamaco. I think they could have won this game very easily with the way they outshot us. I just think that with Ingram, they were clearly not wanting to. They wanted to come out with a loss, make it close, but a loss. But anyway, so I think this is the opportunity where you insulate and get some proven guys, and don't go back to that system of the Terrion, Julian, who was the other guy? Oh, Vigneault. You don't go back to a rotation of that ever again. You go to who's the best qualified coaches to bring in to assist Marty. That's what you need to do. Specialists in each field, bring them in. Because next year, there's going to be more responsibility expected out of this team. And I think at that point, this is the perfect stage. You're now going to be at a stage where a lot of people expect us to be competing. I don't. I think we may be better than this year, of course. I don't think we'll be in the playoffs next year. No, I think, we might move up the rankings if our players can stay healthy and we get better talent over the offseason added to this team, because you're going to need a veteran or two with talent, not third liners, because I think we got a lot of fourth and third liners right through this team. So with that being said, you get the right coaches in. If you want accountability, then they can actually work on molding these players properly. And I think I got to tip my hat off to Savard in this regard, because I think he's the perfect answer for Jack Eye's been so much better settling down the last few games. He's gaining his confidence back, and he looks a lot better. I like his game. Really pleased with his improvements. Um, I think Matheson and Gooley are. It's a case of Gooley playing on the wrong side. That's for sure. They have that more talent level in both of them, but they make a lot of defensive mistakes, and goals are scored with them on the ice. Although, it seems like even whoever they're paired with, goals are scored when they're, you know. Cause I find Matheson and Savard are not a great pairing together either, because one makes a lot of defensive mistakes. He's fast, but the other is too slow. And then they got to start capitalizing on clearing the front of the net. They did a better job of that, sort of, last night, but they still had a lot of breakdowns. And to me, that's got to be repaired. And bottom dollar, it's hard to say what to do. I don't think I'll also hit the trade deadline thing here. I get a kick because people want to jump on Rumorville. I'm really not expecting a whole lot from the Habs for the trade deadline. We'd be lucky to see one more trade. And that's going to be only if there's a right deal. I think Hughes is smart enough to that. But I'm not expecting it, because usually, if the last few years we've seen that most of the bigger trades are made before the trade deadline itself, and I think we've seen the bigger trades from that aspect, and teams are a little tighter against the cap. So don't expect a lot on trade deadline. It's blown up by, the reporters and the channels like to blow it up to get their followers. Anyway, with that being said, if we made something, it would be nice. Here's a scary thought, though. I mean, we got Yoel Armia, who came back from Laval, and he's playing so much better than some of our veterans. Like I say, Josh Anderson, at no point in the time this year has been demanded, and this goes for him and Galley, no demand from those two to improve or be disciplined for their lack of effort, their flaws in their game. And that's the different strokes thing that has to change, because for me, I wouldn't have a problem with Josh Anderson being sent to Laval and let somebody take him. Because you had your chance to trade him last year, you blew that. He probably, no one's going to go near his contract now. Pathetic. People are starting to really see who Josh Anderson is, I think, his game. And there's not enough heart in it. Talent, he's got some talent, but he can miss with his talent. There's nobody missing bigger chances with wide open nets than Josh. Galley, it's a different case. Galley's, because of his foot speed, he's not so good in the defensive zone. And he's lost his foot speed. He's got a lot of fight in him, and he makes a lot of indiscipline errors with penalties. Next thing we're going to talk about is the draft. The draft. Now, hopefully we can get it within, I've projected with people I've talked to that the Habs would not move that much from last year to this year. And of course, with injuries, it's kind of put us behind a little bit. I think we are doing better in areas, but we've been banged up. Amazing. If we would have had health, we kind of might have been scary for the pressure we would have put on. But because we were so banged up, we're a few points behind where we were last year. Not many, but at the same token, I think if we can get in the bottom five, that would be great. We would just probably crack it with getting fifth. I projected us to be anywhere from 8th to 5th at the beginning of the season. That was my thought, that there wouldn't be much change. If we can get to the 5th, I think we'd have a good crack at a good forward. And here's how I'm going to break this down for you. Celebrini would, yes, be the first choice anybody's going to have. He's not. Although this is not a draft like last year where you got a clear out guy like Bedard. So, does that mean that you might be able to wheel and deal a little more here? I think it does, because there's such a differentiation. He's more of a setup type of guy when you watch his play. Good player, and he would be the choice to go with if you wanted to make a deal and move up in the draft to get him one way or the other. It depends on, maybe you get lucky in the lotto aspect of it. Let's hope. If not, maybe you put those two drafts and move up, and whoever it is that gets that spot, you make an exchange. But at the same token, I don't know if I would do that, and I get concerned that they're going to do with that extra draft pick they have. At that is Winnipeg's. I have the bad feeling they're going to do a Romanoff type deal on trade deadline day. I don't know if I would do it. I think you can go to free agency and pick up somebody instead. Worry about that when the time comes. But you could actually get two half decent drafts this year because there's such a solid defense ranking. So that what I mean by that is if I'm gonna break it down. Celebrini will probably be gone, but here's everybody looks at it as Demidanoff, or whatever you want to call him, and that's who I would have normally went with. That's who I was rolling for before. As time has been going on, I think the KHL's our look inside is not. We're not granted enough look inside their program to see just what level it's at, and it looks like they've dropped a bit, but we're not certain. But he's got a better. He's supposed to be better than Mitchkov, and that's why I was Demidenikov, or whatever you want to call him. I was 100% before that at the off season in the summer and the beginning of the year. The more I see it, and I see the political problem over there, and if you hear inside hockey programs, that's why I think the Habs knew something more than us, and I think that's why they did. I didn't agree with Ryan Backer being loved the nice kid, and he still might pan out, and I hope he does. I still think we needed to go with a forward, and I think we erred there. I think there were other forwards we could have went with, and I still think we should have done that. However, they went with it, and then worried about the defenseman this year because it's stacked. But they didn't. But I do think they might have been on to something with why they didn't go after Mitchkov. You look at him being held back for 5 years, and that's just a touching. And, with the pressure of they're applying to their athletes, there's too much political going on over there in Russia. And if you are paying attention to politics, I have a feeling we're going back to the Stone Ages, if you remember, before McGillney came over, when there was no Soviets that could come over to Canada. I think you're going to see Putin in force at some point in time where they're not going to be allowed to come. So I think the Habs might have been on to something last year. And even though I even wanted Mitchkov, but now I'm starting to see into it. So I would stay clear of Denikov or whatever, even though he seems to be better than Mitchkov, just because I think I would stay clear of the Russian program because of the politics. And I think they got clear out for me. Your number one choice should be Lidstrom. He's big. He's got the offensive side to him after. That's if you can't get Celebrini. But he's got the size. He's got the offensive talent, smarts. He's the clear out choice, I think, for the Habs, what they need. Next, if we can't get him, I think you drop down to, there's a debate here where I disagree with Snake. And I usually agree with most of his stuff. And I do agree Conley's a good player, but he's my third choice. I would go with, if you can't get Lidstrom, that he's gone, I would go with Ginla. I think if you watch this guy, and I'm not so much after, Yzerman would be even after Conley for me. I think you go with Lidstrom. If you can't get him, you go with Ginla. And after that, you go with Conley. Those should be the three offensive players the Habs look at. And that's my view on it. I think that's what they need to size up. Then you can still probably get a good defenseman with that second pick and worry about the offensive push for right now in the offseason free agency. So that being said, the next game, I think we got Florida and Tampa coming up. Hopefully we'll keep losing 5-1. That's what I hope. Anyway, thank you for joining me. Where's the puck? You've heard it here. So that's my focus on, with all the rumors. I think that's where we should go. I think too much hype put into the draft, into the free trade, the trade deadline. I think it's a joke. It's not going to be all that. And you seen who I said, Lidstrom, Iginla, or Conley. And Puck Drops here first at Center Ice Production. Thank you. We'll catch you in the next review. God bless.